Ever wondered how violence is a part of the UFC? If you notice, in recent years, the UFC has become more about glitz and glamour than it used to be. But until a few years ago, the UFC was known for its brutal fights and violent knockouts. Let's explore a few of the bloodiest knockouts the UFC has ever witnessed. Number 10 is Anderson Silva vs. Forrest Griffin, UFC 101. If you are a UFC fan, you must know that Anderson Silva is the record holder for the UFC's longest reigning champion. If you remember, in 2009, Anderson Silva was the middleweight champion. After being crowned champion, Anderson Silva decided to move up in weight to take on former light heavyweight champion Forrest Griffin at UFC 101, which was held in Philadelphia in August 2009. Although it was not a championship battle, Silva's place among the greatest fighters of all time was confirmed by this fight. Griffin, the arrogant winner of the Ultimate Fighter's inaugural season, was well known for his roughness and fighting style going into the contest. The fight lived up to the fans' expectations. Griffin advanced, attempting to deliver a forceful blow as Silva moved in a circle, demonstrating his amazing reflexes and quickness. And in the end, Silva emerged as the winner. This fight is still regarded as one of Silva's greatest knockouts, a career high point in an outstanding career. Number 9 is Alex Pereira vs. Bruno Silva, UFC Fight Night 170. During UFC Fight Night 170, an exciting middleweight battle between Alex Pereira and Bruno Silva took place. Both fighters lived up to the expectations with an entertaining back and forth fight, and they were both recognized for their knockout power. Pereira and Silva exchanged punches and leg kicks during the opening exchanges of the fight. Pereira continued to use his leg kicks and elbow in the close-fought fourth round. Silva put tremendous passion into pressing Pereira until the last bell, even if he had a broken nose. With this triumph, Pereira's UFC record increased to 4-1, confirming his status as a rising star in this middleweight class. Number 8 is Francis Ngannou vs. Alistair Overeem, UFC 218. Some say this was the most savage and violent fight ever in the UFC. What do you think? At UFC 218 on December 2nd, 2017, in Detroit, Michigan, there was a heavyweight match that could have had championship consequences. In the match, the highly decorated veteran Alistair Overeem, who was renowned for his power punches, faced off against young talent Francis Ngannou in the co-main event. The matchup between Ngannou's immense strength and Overeem's expertise was much anticipated. Nicknamed the Predator, Ngannou had become well known for his stunning knockouts. The fight was surprisingly short, but it lived up to the expectations. Early in the first round, Ngannou struck a superbly timed left hook that rendered Overeem unconscious. It was one of the most savage knockouts in UFC history, according to some. Just prior to the fight, Ngannou recorded the highest punch ever measured at the UFC Performance Institute, further solidifying his domination. Ngannou's triumph shot him into celebrity status and secured him a lucrative new UFC deal. Number 7 is Derek Lewis vs. Curtis Blaydes, UFC Fight Night 185. The main event of UFC Fight Night 185, also known as UFC on ESPN Plus 43 and UFC Vegas 19, was a heavyweight fight between Derek Lewis and Curtis Blaydes. It was held on February 20th, 2021. Originally scheduled to open another UFC show, this fight became the main attraction for Fight Night 185. In the heavyweight division, both the fighters were ranked contenders. Blaydes was coming off a 4-fight winning run, while Lewis had just lost to Daniel Cormier, the champion at the time. The fight was mostly kept on the feet. Even with Blades applying pressure while wrestling, Lewis scored a resounding knockout victory by landing punches after Blades lost consciousness. In addition to ending Blades' winning run, Lewis's victory put him back in the running for the heavyweight championship. Lewis received a $50,000 bonus for performance of the night due to the remarkable nature of the knockout. Number 6 is Corey Anderson vs. Blake Carolla, UFC 217. November 4th, 2017, at Madison Square Garden in New York City, saw the UFC 217 light heavyweight match between Corey Anderson and Blake Carolla. With his strong start, Anderson used his wrestling prowess to take down Carolla quickly. For the majority of the round, he kept Carolla on the ground while throwing several elbows and punches. Actually, Anderson controlled the majority of the fight. Carolla had trouble standing up again and produced little attacking play. With the win over Carolla, Anderson's winning run now stands at 4 fights. The next year, he made a challenge for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship, but Daniel Cormier defeated him via knockout in the opening frame. On the other hand, this setback was Carolla's first UFC defeat. After the fight, he was dropped from the promotion. Number 5 is Joanna Jędrzejczyk vs. Karolina Kowalkiewicz, UFC 205. A historic fight for Polish mixed martial arts took place at UFC 205 on November 12, 2016, in Madison Square Garden in New York City. Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Karolina Kowalkiewicz, both undefeated, faced off for the UFC Strawweight Championship. Nicknamed JJ, Jędrzejczyk was a rising star who is currently the champion. She has 12 professional fights under her belt and was renowned for her technical skill, accurate striking, and constant pressure. Kowalkiewicz had a 10-0 record and was a previous KSW champion. Her strong kicks and aggressive Muay Thai style were expected to test JJ. This matchup is regarded as one of the best matches in history. Both warriors pushed each other to the absolute limit with amazing heart and courage. It confirmed Jędrzejczyk's reign as champion and demonstrated Kowalkiewicz's ability to challenge for the title in the future. Number 4 is Edson Barboza versus Anthony Eaton, UFC 142. The highlight of the January 24th, 2012 lightweight match between Edson Barboza and Terry Adam at UFC 142 is definitely a tremendous knockout that has solidified its spot among the finest in UFC history. Barboza was already becoming well known for his formidable kicks and his destructive Muay Thai arsenal. An interesting clash of styles was predicted by Eaton, who was also an aggressive striker. The fight lived up to the expectations, with boxers trading blows. Barboza used his jab well, and Eaton tried to answer with blows of his own. Most people agree that Barboza's submission of Eaton is among the most amazing UFC knockouts ever. MMA fans never stop replaying and applauding the kick's accuracy, timing, and pure violence. Barboza's career took a significant turn after the fight, confirming his place as a potential contender in the lightweight class. Number 3 is Dan Henderson versus Michael Bisping, UFC 100. Experience and rising celebrity collided in the middleweight match at UFC 100 on July 11, 2009, between Dan Henderson and Michael Bisping. On Season 9 of The Ultimate Fighter, Henderson and Bisping coached Team USA and Team UK, respectively. This made the conflict much more evil, even with Bisping's advantage. Henderson's experience and skill were vital. Dan Henderson defeated Michael Bisping via dramatic knockout after Henderson connected with a crushing right hand that rendered Bisping unconscious. The difference between Henderson and Bisping was a pivotal point in the careers of both competitors. It ended Bisping's perfect run at middleweight and cemented Henderson's status as a formidable knockout fighter. In addition, Bisping used the battle as a springboard to get the middleweight title. Number 2 is Tra Teligman versus Tim Sylvia, UFC 54. Have you ever imagined throwing out your opponent in the very first round? Yes, that happened here in this fight. At 4 minutes and 54 seconds of the first round, Tim Sylvia defeated Tra Teligman with a head kick. The fight concluded dramatically with a spectacular knockout. Just before the round was out, Sylvia delivered a head kick that knocked Teligman down cold. This UFC fight has a great deal of significance. Sylvia's this victory aided their second stint as UFC heavyweight champion. Conversely, Teligman left the MMA scene for a period following this match. Because of its timing and effect, this knockout has been described as one of the MMA's most underappreciated ones. Number 1 is Kimbo Slice vs. Data 5000, UFC Fight Night 11. It wasn't your normal mixed martial arts match when Kimbo Slice and Data 5000 faced off at the Bellator 149. Not the regular UFC Fight Night 11. It was not an exhibition of technical mastery or tactical sharpness. Rather, it turned into a cult classic, remembered more for its strangely entertaining value than anything else. Kimbo Slice, who gained notoriety via videos of backyard fights, intended to pursue his career in professional mixed martial arts. Despite having little combat experience, Data 5000 came into the cage with a strong reputation. Everyone was expecting a knockout fight, and that's exactly what happened. The 3 rounds were an incredible show. Both fighters swung recklessly with little protection, obviously out of shape and lacking in technical competence. It looked less like 2 polished athletes and more like 2 people fighting it out in a bar. The funny thing is that the fight between Kimbo and Data serves as a lesson to all UFC fighters out there. Though amusing in its own right, it brought attention to the risks associated with endorsing fighters who are ill-prepared and the significance of fighter safety. It also brought in debates over the function of freak shows in mixed martial arts. Do you think UFC has lost its old glory due to less violence? Do share your views on this in the comments section. For more interesting stories and updates, subscribe to our channel and do not forget to press the bell icon for notifications. Goodbye!